The government of Venezuela is under siege by the United States and the rest of its imperialist allies because of its daring attempt to remove itself from imperialist control. Now, obviously, there has been a great deal of damage done to the economy as a result of their decision to leave the influence of the U.S. Now, Venezuela has decided to take a very interesting direction in order to try to deal with some of the damage and the sanctions that have been placed against them by the United States. For example, Venezuela has decided to introduce its own cryptocurrency in a move that is being hailed as, well, frankly, never been done before. No state actor has actually created a currency that's backed by the state. One of the things about cryptocurrencies has been their attempt to avoid states. But isn't that the really interesting part about all this? Venezuela has decided that its petro cryptocurrency will be backed by a combination of gold, oil, and diamond reserves. So this makes it already very different from every other cryptocurrency in that it's actually backed by something of value, a combination of three highly sought after commodities, which are an integral part, or for the most part, especially with regards to oil, of the Venezuelan economy. And I think it's really interesting to note that if you go back into past Venezuelan news, you'll remember that Venezuela brought home a great deal of its gold reserves from around the country, and that it was hoarding gold for a short amount of time. And now they come out with this cryptocurrency idea. I'm not saying the two are related, and perhaps that this was something that was in the works for, several years. I sincerely doubt that. I just think it's really good that they're trying to take advantage of the fact they have these huge gold reserves and using them in some way to try to help the economy. Now, of course, the opposition leaders decried this move. They called it something of trying to avoid accountability. It's another proof that Maduro is a fascist, blah, blah, blah. And they said this will never work. It's just another attempt by the Venezuelan government to try to prop itself up by using another currency, while the Venezuelan bolivar is practically in a free fall. Now, there may be some validity to the claims that they're actually making. Now, there's no doubt that the Venezuelan economy is absolutely suffering at this time. It has been brutalized by the United States and others for their anti-imperialist stance. Now, one of the big sanctions that's hurting the country right now is the banking sanctions that have been placed against the country. Nobody's allowed to do banking with them. They're blocking them from using certain aspects of the financial global community. Now, one of the great things about this cryptocurrency is that it would be able to bypass all of that. Banks and these regulatory bodies don't have any authority over a cryptocurrency. Not only that, they don't have any ability to actually track the currency. So this is a way for Venezuela to take some kind of financial act around the whole U.S. sanction and blockade, not just the U.S., but several other imperialist countries as well. So this, if you want to get around the global banking system, or rather the control of the global banking system, and this would be an excellent way to do it. This would certainly achieve that objective. Now, it's very clear that this is something that Venezuela is doing because of the economic situation it's in, and I would actually attribute some of that difficulty to Venezuela itself. I would say a big part of that is refusing to normalize the exchange rates inside the country. Now, I know they created different exchange rates for the specific purpose of making imports of certain goods easier and to help repair the economy, but it has also created a great deal of problems and has been something that the capitalist class, the bourgeoisie inside of Venezuela, have used to harm the economy. Now, this sudden desire to use a cryptocurrency, to be perfectly honest, I'm not really all that positive about. I really don't think this is going to work out as good as they think it's going to. I mean, by all means, I hope I'm wrong, and this is something that will help them out a great deal, but I don't really see it having that much of an effect. Now, I understand if taking a cryptocurrency, something that is beyond the reach of the global banking, financial oligarchy, and using it in a way to purchase the goods that they need from other countries that sanctions are being placed on right now. well, we would buy it from these people who don't really care, but we're having trouble getting through to the banking system because of the sanctions that the U.S. and other countries have placed on them, and this cryptocurrency would allow them to go around all those regulations, and it has a real value, unlike Bitcoin, where it's backed by gold, oil, and diamonds. So that does give it a very real value, particularly with regards to oil, given that Venezuela is mostly an oil-producing economy. However, my skepticism of their plan is that I don't really see that many people in the international community actually accepting their cryptocurrency. One of the main problems with the global capitalist order as it stands is the hegemony of the US dollar over global trade. Everybody takes US dollars, except in the rare instances where countries have specifically chosen not to take them for the specific purpose of bucking the US dollar. For example, a lot of the trade that goes on between China and Russia is done by a combination of rubles and yuan, specifically to avoid using the US dollar for trade, to try to reduce its value somewhat, which does harm to the American economy. The American economy needs a strong U.S. dollar in order for it to function the way it does, because it's such a massively importing country. The problem is, I have serious doubts as to how many countries will actually take this cryptocurrency. I mean, it's one thing to use it, but you have to be able to turn around and use that again. So let's say North Korea decides to go in with Venezuela on this. Okay, you need X amount of farm equipment. Okay, we produce farm equipment, so North Korea sells it to them and takes this cryptocurrency. What's the DPRK going to spend it on? The problem is they have to spend it on something else. If you get payment for something and you can't use that payment for something else, did you really just get paid? I mean, really, what good is it to you? The thing is, with any currency, there has to be a near universal acceptance of payment using that currency. If you don't, its utility becomes extremely limited. So I can see a situation where maybe a handful of countries want to use this Venezuelan cryptocurrency, but in the overall scheme of the global economy, which is so highly integrated at this late stage in capitalism, that a lot of countries are not going to take it. They're not going to take it as a valid form of payment because they have doubts of it being taken elsewhere, which is why the US dollar is so powerful. As the world's reserve currency, everyone takes it. And that's what makes it so powerful. It's the utility of that. Not just necessarily the backing of the currency by gold, oil, and diamonds, but its utility. And if it cannot find that utility, even if it is backed by a valuable commodity, people may, or particularly in this case, state actors, may choose not to take them, which would make this whole experiment in a cryptocurrency a complete failure. Now, I've made it clear that I really don't think that this is going to work, because I think a lot of states aren't going to take this as a form of payment. They would rather take the oil, gold, and diamonds, which would be a lot better than the cryptocurrency backed by those. But I understand why Venezuela would do this. It makes those assets, gold, oil, and diamonds, much more liquid. They can move much more quickly. Instead of saying, okay, we buy this, now pay us in diamonds, then you have to ship the diamonds all the way over there. With this, you can just send the cryptocurrency, instantly, and it's easier. It's far more liquid than moving a physical commodity. I mean, this is kind of really the point of why bits of paper ended up representing pieces of gold held in the Federal Reserve, because despite it being of real value, nobody really wants to carry all that gold around them to begin with, because it's heavy and your ass is probably going to get mugged for it. So I understand where they're going with this and why they're doing it, and it seems like a rational and good idea on the surface, but frankly, I don't think it's actually going to work out very well. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this revitalizes the Venezuelan economy somehow, gets them the commodities that they need, pays off a lot of the debts that they hold, which I think is another reason why that they're doing this. But I really don't think very positively of it at all. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.